Welcome to Marvelous Disney, the podcast that discusses the most recent doings at one of the more dynamic divisions of the Walt Disney Company, which is, of course, Marvel Entertainment. My co-host, the amazing Aaron Adams, and I are recording this on Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. And Aaron, how do we not sound like a broken record? Everything these days is about COVID, isn't it?
It's all about the sickness. Are you down with the sickness? I'm down with the sickness. If we had the rights to play any of that song, we would right now at great volume, but no, we cannot. So we'll move on.
Okay. Well, I know we've all gotten tired of playing the change the release date game. In fact,
we should get a wheel.
Yeah.
Let's just get a wheel, Jim, and spin it randomly, and we'll just go, ta-da, this is the new date for X movie. We'll need two wheels, one for the movie title and another wheel for a date. Mm-hmm. And this will settle all of our things in the future. Is just we'll spin wheels, and that will determine what happens.
Prior to recording, weren't you saying something effective about the New Mutants?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're actually, I've got so many game ideas for how we change movies. The original idea, I guess, I had earlier was we'll call it the New Mutants game. And if anybody can get their release date moved more than New Mutants gets theirs moved, they win the Golden Poopy Award. Yeah. So, by the way, has New Mutants been moved at all in this list? I haven't looked at it yet. Are they in the pile?
There is literally no news, though I have just recently picked up the latest issue of Cinefex magazine, issue number 170, and they have a full feature piece about all of the effects work that was done in Medfield, Massachusetts at the former mental hospital, about the stuff they shot on location and the digital replacement and that sort of thing. And I have it ready to talk about this movie if it ever comes out. And it's never coming out, is it?
The New Mutants, by the way, are starting to get mail to sign up for the AARP stuff. And it's not looking good, I've got to tell you.
Not looking good. Okay, speaking of not looking good, and forgive me again, I'm going to make this as quick as possible, folks, but we do have to talk about what just happened with Wonder Woman 1984. This movie was supposed to originally come out in November of 2019, and I'm sure there's somebody in a corner office at Warner's who's drinking heavily about, why didn't we put it out then? Why?
Yep. Because now we could be putting out the digital and making money on the second half of its lifespan, and shucks.
That's it exactly. Because again, due to production issues, this Patty Jenkins movie gets its release date pushed from November 2019 to June 5th, and then COVID happened. So on March 24th, they announced, okay, move that from June 5th to August 12th. Then just this past Friday, they announced they are moving the August 12th release date to October 2nd. Now, what's concerning about this, and a tip of the hat to our pal Drew Taylor, the gentleman I do fine tuning with, and the gentleman who's also just become an editor over at Collider. Congrats to him. What happened was that Warner Brothers, when they were doing this announcement, sent out an image of a movie marquee. And so it said Wonder Woman 1984, and it listed below it the release date of October 2nd. But the interesting thing is someone at Warner screwed up, and they initially sent out a different image. And what this said, Aaron, was Wonder Woman 1984 Thanksgiving 2020, which is a full 8 weeks later. If Warner's is already looking at, the notion of, and again, in a very New Mutant sort of way, it's like, that October 2nd is kind of the holding pattern but we were also thinking of maybe that Wonder Woman 1984 may have to be released.
They got a wheel. That's what it is. They've got a wheel full of posters. Each one's got a different damn date. They spin the wheel, and the guy grabbed the wrong poster.
That could well be. On the other hand, the nice thing is to know that this means there's some place we can actually go to buy this wheel. All right,
because they're making them.
They're making them for them.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right. But this coupled with the news that just broke about how the Academy Awards for 2021 are being pushed from February 28th to April 25th of next year. It's hard not to look at this info about the Academy Awards being pushed back into the spring of next year, with Warner Brothers already having a second date picked out, ready to go to move Wonder Woman yet again. And then the other kicker, also on Friday, that Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which was supposed to open on July 17th. And the idea was that it was, in a weird sort of way, it was going to plow the road for Disney's Mulan, which was going to open on July 24th. And, the whole notion is that people are going to go to the theaters. They were going to see a brand new Christopher Nolan movie. They were going to have such a wonderful time that the very next weekend is like, ooh, we have to do that again. And what else is out? Oh, Mulan, let's go see that. But then on the same day, they announced that Wonder Woman 1984 is shifting from August 12th to October 2nd. They announced that the Christopher Nolan movie was now being pushed to July 31st.
Have you seen the trailer for Tenet?
I have.
Okay.
I'll be damned if I know what's going on.
The general idea, well, Tenet is a palindrome that goes forwards and backwards the same, right? Yep. So Christopher Nolan likes to play with time, and it looks like, as they so cleverly had in the trailer, don't imagine as, firing the bullets, imagine as, like you're scooping them up or picking them up into your gun or whatever the heck it was that they said. But it's like time moving backwards. In what should have been a true Christopher Nolan moment to help hype up the concept of that film and time going backwards, they should have moved the release date forward. That would have made so much impact. I mean, come on. That's Christopher Nolan being ballsy.
Interesting that you say this, because the other day we have this wonderful auto repair shop, and they do these wonderful signs. And just this past week, it's like, interested in time travel? Be here last Friday at 7 p.m. And it was just sort of like, yes, that's what, again, push forward the release date, because that would be much more in the Tenet spirit. But
yeah, totally.
Anyway, to get back to Mulan, Mulan is now the lead sled dog. It's still got its July 17th release, or excuse me, July 24th release date. It's the first thing out of the gate, first giant Hollywood production. And it's supposed to convince everybody that they want to go back to theaters. And from what I'm hearing, exhibitors just don't believe there's enough demand for Mulan. They think that it's not enough to get people who are concerned about their safety out of their homes and back into theaters. And the fear is now, if they put it out there and it underperforms, what happens on Monday morning when the stock market opens? What happens to the theater chains like AMC, or what happens at Disney stock, or that sort of thing? So the hard reality is, if Mulan moves, Black Widow moves too. In fact, what I'm hearing is that at the very least, we're looking at a situation where Mulan will shift to August, more likely September, and that would then mean that Black Widow, to allow for breathing space, that would shift to at least Christmas and possibly January.
So that'd be kind of like Eternal's original starting point.
And there you go. There you go. Both of these films, Mulan and Black Widow, depending on who you talk to at the studio, they cost at least $150 million a piece, closer to $200 million. And both of them were planned to be billion-dollar earners for the company, to do well stateside and overseas. And the thinking at the company is, these are investment properties. We put a lot of money into these things. We are not going to put this on Disney Plus. First of all, Black Widow was supposed to kick off the Phase 4 of the MCU, and in the case of Mulan, they had already started development on Mulan 2.
Yeah, well, I think the whole world's got problems right now of, this isn't how we plan things. Yeah. This is not what our summer was supposed to look like. We had different plans.
We did.
Things change, and you either adapt or you don't. And if you don't, go talk to dinosaurs about how that works.
Yeah, okay.
It's the little furry things that can crawl into the holes and the crevices that survive that one.
Okay. Well, speaking of surviving, we've talked about this on the show the past couple of months, a lot of comic book shops, a lot of game stores. This has been a tough time, and some of them have introduced, curbside pickup and, that sort of thing. But at the same time, the fact that you had places like Diamond Distribution, the guys who actually physically get the comic books to the store, stop making deliveries. And you had the DCs and the Marvels of the world cut back on the number of books they were putting out there, because obviously if the stores aren't open, what's the point of publishing? Have you heard about this thing that Diamond's doing, the comeback thing?
Yeah, and I don't understand it. So please explain it so it makes sense to me, because right now I haven't seen or figured out what the goal is.
Okay, you're the one who told the wonderful stories about the comic code thing they used to put on the outside of the comic book. But again, you knew to buy the book. And in fact, you've told the story. Is it the Iron Man issue?
I can't remember if Demon in a Bottle skipped it, but the first one was when I think it was Harry Osborn gets hooked on smack. I don't know if it was smack. Okay. But he was doing the drugs. The drugs is bad, okay? And so Spidey had to help his friend kick the drugs. And the government had asked Stan, hey, can you do a comic that says drugs are bad? Stan did the comic. Then they looked at it and went, oh, no, you put drugs in the comic. And he went, yeah, because drugs are bad, okay? And they went, no, you can't have drugs in the comics. And he's, well, then how do we show that drugs is bad? And so that was the argument. And so if they published the comic with the drugs in it, then they wouldn't get the comic book code on that comic book, which meant the doom of Marvel. And you really like that?
Yeah, I do.
And so it wasn't the end of Marvel. It was just a moment where they proudly put out what they believed was right, and they risked something, and nothing bad happened. And here we are today. And I think Demon in the Bottle may have been one of those issues where they did. I would have to go back and look specifically to see if it got skipped or not. But yeah, that was a general idea. If you said something bad, then boy, oh boy, you weren't going to get a little stamp on your comic. And the funny thing is, I think there are a lot of comic book creators who are like, oh, well, if we don't need it, I will strive to make sure I never get one by accident. And that's where I ended up reading a lot of my stuff, like Spawn. Here's a character that came straight from hell.
Yeah, good luck getting your stamp. So,
yep, right.
Okay, well, anyway, to sort of bring this full circle, what Diamond has decided to do is they want to get across the message, look, we're all in this together. And we're supporting the small comic books, shops, the tiny game stores that, we want to get across the message to the effect of, we're all going to make a comeback after, what happened with COVID. In fact, the phrase they're using is, our comeback will be bigger than our setback. Which,
the math, I think, works out, but the sentiment, no.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when, your nephew who studied marketing community college comes up with the slogan. But
that should have spent a little bit more time in the boiler room before that got released out into the public, I think. Yeah. So, so they're coming back.
That's right. And
how are they? What are they doing differently? What's the thing?
Well, the idea is that they've convinced, for example, and Marvel's on board with this idea, and I think DC as well, that they're publishing a variant issue that actually has this stamp in the corner, and
Nope. Nope. You lost me at variant, Jim, and I'm going to give people a quick history lesson, because sometimes you come here for history lessons, so we're going to give you the Aza history, which is super short. A long time ago, they used to do like 9 variant covers for one issue. It destroyed the comic book market. The end. Don't do it again. Why do we have to go back to variants? Why? Well, I guess it's their thing. Never mind. It's the only thing they know how to do. Go ahead.
This is true. But anyway, it's if you want to get on board with this, folks, now, mind you, supposedly the issue that Marvel will be putting the stamp on is Empire with a Y, number 1. There'll be a variant cover that comes out July 15th, I believe. But, if you want to get on board with this, there's a hashtag back the comeback. And look, we all want our little local comic book stores and game stores to survive. So maybe make an exception. I mean, I get what Aaron's saying, and
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know how well some comic book stores cater to their customers, but if you're a good customer and you're there regularly, you'll have a pull list, and you know how it works. You walk into the store, you hand them a little bit of money, they hand you a bag full of paper and ink, you walk away happy. It's a transaction that is so smooth, it's almost like a drug deal in the park. Nobody saw it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need to do a whole lot everyone likes to browse, but to support your comic book shop, it takes 30 seconds to walk in, go nod the head to Jeffrey. Jeffrey hands you a bag, you hand Jeffrey a bill, you walk out, everything's happy. So you don't have to do if you want to support Diamond, fine, go ahead and support Diamond. But it's the store that's important, because anybody can get their comics delivered to them, to their home. You like Jeffrey. You like interacting with them from week to week. So spend your money at the store. Find a way.
No, that puts it so much better than Back the Comeback. So, okay, then please disregard. Just go to the local comic store. The end. Okay.
Wear your mask. But,
wear your mask. In fact, bringing us to our next place that we need to wear a mask. Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure are beginning their phased reopenings on July 17th. In fact, I want to say the retail area opens on July 9th, I think. We've been following the Avengers Campus project, which, by the way, was supposed to open this summer. And so the big question is, okay, what happens there? Disneyland, the resort, both parks closed back on March 14th. And there really hasn't been a whole lot of movement on the Avengers Campus project. But I was talking with somebody about this just recently, and why we don't have an opening date yet for the Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure. Likewise, the Pym Test Kitchen, or the Web Supplier, which, by the way, that's where you're supposed to be able to go to buy your Spider Bot after you do the whole Web Slinger thing. But what I'm being told is that this is a brand new land being built right in the middle of the park, right in the middle of the Hollywoodland section. And what they're now discussing is pulling down the construction fences for much of the summer. So, but not to open the land, but basically to provide additional, a queue that will allow for social distancing for the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout ride. And while we're talking about things that get canceled or reconfigured or that sort of thing, we know that there is no physical San Diego Comic-Con this year. You're not driving down to the city and going to the giant convention center. But they are doing the home edition. The question is, what sort of Marvel content are we going to get?
Tom Holland is going to be from some hotel room in a bathrobe like, oh, hey, guys, didn't see you there. I'm working on my next movie.
All I've been told is expect the Marvel Studios limited series for Disney Plus to do stuff. In fact, I guess there's some discussion of we're at least going to get footage of WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't know how much footage.
At this point, they're so far behind, I'm surprised you didn't misread that. It said they were going to be shooting some footage.
Well, that's probably not wrong either. So, but again, folks, that's July 22nd through July 26th, and Aaron and I will try to keep tabs on what Marvel news is coming out of that. And again, let's circle back. Thanks again to Mr. Taylor. He did an interview just this past week with David Cope, the gentleman who wrote the screenplay for Jurassic Park and the Mission Impossible movies. And he got him to talk about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. The plan was not to just one and done, do the first film and then move on. But he wanted to do, a full trilogy. And he had already mapped out the arc of it. And they had, at least for the second film of the series, Spider-Man 2, they were going to kind of go psycho.
Wait a minute, define that. How are they going to go psycho?
Well, as in they were going to bring in Gwen Stacy, but kill her, in much the same way that Alfred Hitchcock got her attention by killing off the lead female character, 20 minutes in, but that they were going to kill off Gwen Stacy halfway through Spider-Man 2 and deal with the consequences of that, with the thinking that, this would give the second Spider-Man film that much more emotional weight, make it the equivalent of that series Empire Strikes Back. And he walked away, and they obviously went a different way with Gwen. In fact, she doesn't join
Till the third one.
Yeah. So
This is one that I struggle with because in the comics, Gwen came first. And I know that.
Yep.
So when I first sat down to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, even though I grew up with MJ as my primary source of everyday, reading, and I prefer MJ over Gwen just because she's been in the comic history longer, so I've got to know her more as a character and not just like an empty shell that got killed off rather quickly. So if Peter were to be with Gwen in episode 1 of whatever this proposed trilogy would have been, that would mean that Peter had the girl. And that is not how Peter is. Peter don't get the girl right away. Peter pines for the girl. That's our way into Peter. We're the loser. Remember, we're the kid that can't fight our own battles, that gets sand kicked in his face. And then we get the amazing power and we go, ah ha ha ha, and etc. So just kind of like the way Spider-Man was. Pete really doesn't get MJ. He pines over MJ for a long time. It takes a while for them to truly, truly get together. It's, I think, the end of the second one where it's all finally starting to be love and roses. So if you give Peter Gwen right off the bat, he's not the loser. He's the guy that gets the girl. And that fundamentally changes the character, and it kind of rushes something. So they would have to kind of go with Gwen the way they did with MJ and give her the full 3 movies and kill her off in the third one. Because that would be tragic the most. I mean, if you're talking about a three-act play, you kill your love in the third act, a la Romeo and Juliet or whatever, but, they're gone. Final, curtain closes, people would be shocked. Like, that's not how that's supposed to end. Real fluid tears dripping down their cheeks because of that. And then if you decide to do a 4, that's where MJ comes through the door and says, face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot, just like they did at the first time they met in the comic books, and you're off and running from there because by that point, Peter's had the girl. Peter can get the new girl and move on with his life and have a new damsel in distress to save, which is a whole other topic we should have to get into right now, but needs to be addressed.
See, now, my question is, where were you in 1985? Because this is the thing. When the Canon Group acquires the Spider-Man film rights, they then spend the next 4 years, they hire 10 different sets of screenwriters to try to sort out the Spider-Man story to make a good Spider-Man movie. And you just did that in like 3 minutes.
The big difference, Sam was a fan of Spider-Man growing up. He read the comics. I read the comics growing up as a kid, so I was a fan in the exact same way. We had the toys, we played with them, we imagined all the different stories we read from and had different artists with different interpretations of the character, and a lot of people are hired guns to do a job. Can you write a script? Yes, I can. It's like a cook, it's like, can you cook? Yes. And you go, okay, well then make me this African cuisine. It's like, I don't even know what I'm Italian, It's not my thing. It's just like, well, then you're a failure as a chef, period. It's like, that's not how it works. So if you get someone who's a specialist in an area and they specialize in African cuisine and you go, hey, make some African cuisine, it's going to be bomb. It's going to be the best thing you've ever tasted. That's how that whole thing works. So, that's one of the messes of Hollywood is they should really hire the fans like they did with Sam and Sony. Those were good, pure movies with the director got it. He knew it. He was a fan, whereas other people were hired guns. And here's why I don't like the Andrew Garfield stuff. Spidey don't need no damn cranes to make a path to swing from, guys. That is the dumbest ever, and I wanted to walk out of the theater during the climax of your movie because you fundamentally don't get his superpower. What the... Anyway... Okay, moving on.
No, you're not wrong. I've had this argument with people at DC when we had that endless series of Batman movies that looked like they were just here to sell toys. And it's like, you literally have Paul Dini. He's right over there. He's the guy who wrote the animated series and did such a wonderful job. And it's like, why is it that you don't bring him in? I mean, they brought him in to do the Arkham Asylum games. The gaming people got it, but the film people's like, oh God, no, we don't want to work with, we're making a comic book movie. Why would we want to talk with somebody who worked on the animated series? And it's just, the guy who invented Harley Quinn, you don't want him at the table? Yeah, sure. That's good thinking.
Yeah, that's an executive decision all the way. It's, I know a guy who knows a guy. Money, money, money. Chat, chat, chat. Lobster dinner. Martini lunch. Good day.
Okay. All right. Tell you what, folks, go to big martini lunch and a lobster dinner. Go snack break. When you get back from the break, Darren has some news that actually relates to DC.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
You want to talk for a bit about HBO Max because of what you and Sabrina learned, right?
Yeah, this is kind of like our public service announcement for the show. I was thinking about purchasing or renting HBO Max, check it out for a month, see whatever. And then I saw something online that piqued my curiosity, and I ended up chatting with my wife about it. And I was like, I think we get HBO for free. And she's like, nuh-uh. And then we looked up more information. And we are AT&T fiber optic with the 1 terabyte speed. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. And, or the 1 gig, whatever it is. It's the top tier fiber optic. And so we get the HBO Max for free as a result. It's just that we had to go in through our user information thing on the web and find a specific page and click on a thing. And it gave us HBO Max for free. So if you're an AT&T subscriber, you got fiber optic and high-speed internet, just go to your account, do some poking around, and do some Googling for HBO Max. You might get it for free. And if that's the case, then you can see the new Snyder Cut of the Justice League sometime next year, I guess, is when they're touting that it will be available. Mm-hmm. A few months ago, I did this whole breakdown of all the different streaming platforms that were available, and HBO just seemed like they just threw a handful of dice on the table and went, Yahtzee! Because they had HBO Go, HBO Now, HBO Max. It was a lot. So they've also realized that the customers just have no general idea what the hell HBO's intent is with all of those different services, how they work, how they're different from one another. So HBO finally said, oh, by the way, we're getting rid of one of them. Whether it's HBO Now or HBO Go that goes away, it doesn't matter because it's just being rebranded as the other thing that remains. So there will be an HBO something and an HBO Max, and I still don't know quite the difference between the two, but there's a price tag involved, and you can have one or you can have the other, whatever. Figure it out on your own terms. But if you're an AT&T subscriber with blazing fast internet, you get HBO Max for free. Go look it up.
Well, that's an excellent tip. Oh, also, you wanted to talk about the PS5 Miles Morales Spider-Man game.
Yeah, initially a lot of people, it looks great, first and foremost, and then immediately after that, a lot of people went, hey, is this just reskinned Spider-Man game from last year or two ago? And the publisher quickly came out with, no, brand new, kind of, sort of, mostly. And look, they can use all the resources in the world from the old one, like the buildings of New York, you know, and the animations of Spidey swinging. That's all cool. Keep that if it worked before. There's no need to throw that out. But they are doing like a full new story. It's not just, you know, like a 5-hour expansion that would be normally the case with an expansion. If you got a 40-hour game, they'll give you a 5 or 10-hour expansion pack. This is like a full, you know, full-size game in that respect. The 40-hour version, not the 5-hour version. And I'm not quoting any number. I'm just saying it's a larger game, not a smaller add-on. Okay. So yeah, it's going to have all the voice actors needed to tell the story. It's going to have a script with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if they do new animation and new skins on the old stuff, so what? That's just saving time so they can put out quality content. Because apparently, if it was Game of the Year last year, you don't need to mess with that too much, do you? Really? No. If you got a great new story for Miles and everybody likes Miles, So why not? Yeah, go for it. So I'm looking forward to that. And honestly, I will be buying a PlayStation, whatever number it is, if it's on 4 or on 5. I'm buying it. And also, just because I got a nerd for a second, Star Wars Squadrons just released a trailer. And because I'm an X-Wing versus TIE Fighter nerd, I'm so buying whatever I have to get to fly that. If it's new Xbox or new PlayStation, old one, I don't care. I'm going to have it and be flying. And if any of our listeners want to join us at that point, I'll give you my gamer tag, and we'll do a battle on X-Wing and TIE Fighter, and it will be so sweet.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
can't wait.
Okay, well, again, we were talking about Miles Morales, of course, made his cinematic debut in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse back in December of 2018, and all of us OG Spider-Man fans loved the tag scene for that, where Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, journeys back to 67, and it finds himself in the original animated series, the first Spidey animated series that ran from September of 67 through June of 1970. But of course, this was back in the day when if you wanted the rights to basically anything Marvel was doing, you kind of had to show up at the Manhattan office with the bag of money. And Stan loved to make deals. That's how the one company got the animated rights to Spider-Man. But then in the mid-70s, CBS managed to wrangle the TV rights for, the first Spider-Man television series, which ran on that network from September of 77 through July of 79. And, of course, those of us who remember the show and how truly terrible the Spider-Man walking on the outside of the building was. I mean, even the Burt Ward and Adam West Batman climbing up the side of the building was more convincing than Spider-Man climbing the buildings in the CBS show. But again, we were just talking earlier part of the show about the Cannon Group hiring those 10 different screenwriters to try to come up with one workable script for the Spider-Man movie. Well, they acquired the rights from Marvel for $225,000. So they got the film rights, but they had, from when they got the rights in 1985, they only had them till April of 1990. And if they didn't finish a movie and get it out by that time, the film rights then reverted back to Marvel. So anyway, we jump ahead to March of 89. Cannon Group was, as I mentioned, that they're $2 million in now to their screenwriting effort. Like I said, 10 different guys have been hired, and they can't deliver a decent script. But Cannon Group is now in financial trouble. So they merge with Pathé Entertainment and form a new company called Pathé Communications Corp. So we jump ahead to April of 89. Israeli filmmaker Menachem Golan, who's part of the Cannon Group, decides that he doesn't want to work for Pathé Communications Corporation. And this guy had to have a hell of a lawyer, Aaron, because as part of his separation packet from that studio, Golan is awarded the movie rights to not only Spider-Man, but Captain America. He then finds this defunct film company, which I swear to God was called 21st Century Film Corporation, which, by the way, not to be confused with 20th Century Fox. And he, on his own, makes a deal with Marvel that extends the film rights deal. That's like, look, I'm just setting up my new company. I need more time. So Marvel's like, okay, we'll extend the rights, Spider-Man rights, till 1992. And so now Menachem is out trying to raise money to make this film. So he turns around and, first of all, he sells the rights to theatrically release this film, which hasn't been made yet, to Carol Co. And then he turns around and sells the rights to release this movie on a home video to Columbia Pictures. And then furthermore, he turns around and sells the film rights to just air the show on network television to Viacom. And so 1992 arrives and no Spider-Man movie has been produced yet. So Carol Co., Columbia Pictures, and Viacom all sue Golan. And given all the money they've already invested in this project, they each now want to be awarded the film rights. And it takes 2 years to sort this out, but by 1995, a judge determines that the original film rights to Spider-Man from 1985, it's expired. And the film rights, they now revert to Marvel. None of the companies that have invested on this Spider-Man movie that never got made they have no claim. They lose everything.
I think that was really kind of wheeled in the CBS show from the 70s, aired about 30 seconds of him clinging to the wall, turned off the TV, wheeled it out, and everyone went, oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, we thought we had something. Apparently it was all a bunch of...
All right. So, but the sad thing is Marvel gets back the rights just at the time that it's headed into its real financial difficulties. In fact, it's not till 1998 that Marvel emerges from bankruptcy that they finally get serious about making a Spider-Man movie. So in 99, they turn around and sell the film rights to Columbia for a reported $7 million. And this is where we get the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. This is, David Cope, does the first pass on the first script. This gets out in theaters in May of 2002. And we get, the trilogy over the next couple of years. Now, okay, we jump ahead to August of 2009. And this is when the Walt Disney Company buys Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion, which causes Sony to freak out. Sony, by the way, is the parent company of Columbia Pictures. Supposedly, under the terms of the deal that Sony made in 99 for the film rights to Spider-Man, which, again, they paid $7 million for, should the Marvel Corporation get purchased by another entity, the film rights are then allowed to sunset.
With the story's done and Spider-Man goes back to Disney, right? That's how this ends today?
Well, no. That's, and in fact, I have to admit, that's, to me, would make sense, that all these things come home. This is August of 2009, and Disney has just acquired 5,000 characters. And there was a discovery period and this sort of thing. And evidently what Sony did just sort of buy some time is they reached out to Disney and said, hey, while you're digging through the pile there, we're working on a new Spider-Man movie, but how about this? We'll work on the movie. How would you like the Spider-Man television rights? We got that from Marvel back in 99 with our $7 million purchase. We'll give those to you, and you can do something with those while we make this movie. And that seemed to placate Disney for a while.
No, we call hogwash on that.
Okay.
Disney's not a kind company that says, oh, sure, have our toys. Mm-hmm. We don't need them. If you have both your milk and your milk money, Disney will punch you, steal your milk money and your milk. That's how it goes. They're not going to leave you with one of the, I'm going to take your money, but I'm going to not let you go thirsty. No, by punching you, I now am thirsty. Therefore, I need your milk. I can't rightly spend the money I stole from you to go purchase milk because I would have no profit. So that's why I need both your money and your milk, sucker.
This is why you and I are not getting invited to the Disney Christmas party this year. But it's interesting you bring up toys because in 2011, Disney does start making noise to the effect of, hey, this has language about sunsetting. Did you see this part where it says sunsetting? And Sony's response...
They don't have any lawyers that can verify. They're just pointing and going, hey, is this a thing? Guys, at Sony, we're going to ask you if this is a thing. We're not going to get our own opinion over here. We're just going to go, Sony, do you want to give us our toys back? Or come on.
Well, this is how the story has been explained to me. And again, it's crucial you keep mentioning toys because what ends up happening is that Sony has gone to all the trouble to make a brand new Spider-Man movie. And they're also prepping the second Amazing Spider-Man of what's supposed to be at least a trilogy. And they're like, well, wait. Hey, how about if we sell the toy rights back to you? I mean, that way you can profit from selling toys from your new animated Spider-Man movie. Because again, that's the thing, that Disney had the rights to do television Spider-Man, so they could do, and they quickly opted to do some animated series. But they weren't making the toy money. It's like, I tell you what, we'll sell you that back. And more to the point, you can be making money off of the toys from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And that was enough. And the interesting part is if you talk with the people at Sony today, this is the part of the deal they regret the most. It was literally, oh my God, that was the sweetest part of the fruit, that, the toy money. Why did we, in our desperation to hang on to the film rights, we gave away the thing that gives us the most profit?
None of this sounds anything like Disney at all. It sounds like a completely manufactured story And I can't imagine to whose benefit.
All I've had explained to me when I've had the exact same set of questions, and they're like, you don't understand. If you go into the room where, we literally have all of the Spider-Man rights laid out, part of the problem is that when Stan was running the company, there were a lot of fast and loose deals made. And, as a direct result, take, for example, we've talked about...
Right now, the main thing is that there's a contract that the most recent one is that if the company of Marvel gets sold, you can sunset movie rights. And right now, the toy rights and the TV rights have been given back freely by Sony. So if that means that they can just close a window on a thing, it shouldn't matter who's attached to the thing on the other side of that window. Window's closed, right?
I honestly get what you're saying, but
I'm not illegal, so go ahead. There's
no.
a reason for it.
It's one of these things where I've had it described to me that you literally have to have a degree in theoretical particle theory to follow how many different directions the rights run in. And again, we've talked about the master licensing agreement with Universal and the subsets within subsets within subsets of that deal. And it gets even stranger in 2014 when, remember, there was that horrible hack at Sony where the North Koreans were upset about that Seth Rogen movie about,
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun time. We should do that again. Let's upset the North Koreans again. No. I'm sorry, backpedal. You hear that sound of the truck backing up? That's me backing up my bullshit.
No. For us on the outside, it was great fun because we all these internal documents leaked out. But for Sony, it was a terrible time. And in fact, what they talked about during that period, given the financial hit that they took and, how they were going to recover, they seriously talked during that period about, look, let's just sell Spider-Man outright to Disney. And, we'll use that money to recover. And luckily, though, at Sony, cooler heads prevailed. And by February of 2015, what wound up happening was that's when they cut the deal with Marvel to the effect of, okay, we don't necessarily want to sell Spidey to you, but we will give you control of the character. To the effect of you can cast the next actor who plays Spider-Man, you can introduce him in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and we'll all go joyfully forward together with this character. And so that's how we got Captain America Civil War, and likewise, that wonderful arc that played out between Avengers, Infinity Wars, and Endgame. And then, of course, we had the for some reason, I don't understand this because they seem to have been getting along so well. And then we had this contest, this pissing contest between Sony and Disney last summer that Tom Holland himself had to supposedly resolve by calling Disney and, can we work this out?
It feels like a real life Parent Trap in Hollywood. I don't
But now I told this rather lengthy story that Aaron repeatedly called BS on, and I'm sorry.
I apologize because I know that there's got to be a point. But I can't fathom that any of this would be real according to the way it's being described. It seems like, how there's a best doctor in the world and there's a worst doctor in the world. It's like whoever is working this case was the worst lawyer in the world. It's like, I don't know, guys, maybe we could get Spider-Man back, but I'm not going to tell the boss just in case I'm wrong. Okay.
Okay. Not to put too fine a point in it, but if Sony's lawyers were just as good as the guy who was handling IT during the hack. All right. I'm just saying.
Well, see, though, Sony, at least, according to this story, was the smart one who goes, hey, guess what, Disney? We'll let you put your character in one of your movies if you pay us. And Disney went, okay, that sounds like a deal, huh, guys? That's the way this story is going. It's just like, oh, God.
I get it. But now, all right, well, to put the cherry on the unlikely sundae, we've talked previously about Roger Wardell. That's the gentleman who's put out a number of stories on Twitter about future Marvel Cinematic Universe projects.
That's the one I claim is Feige's wife, right?
Well, yes.
Okay. Continue.
There we go. Okay, Regina. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, on May 30th, Roger tweeted this out. Disney understands the money-making powers of Spider-Man, while Sony is aware of being completely unable to compete with the mouse at the moment. A new agreement should please many Marvel fans. So something is in the works.
Sony is going to let Spider-Man appear in one of the Disney Plus series. They've got someone held hostage. That's all that I'm saying. Someone's in a dark room with a bag over their head, just...
Again, this is now 2 Christmas parties you've got us cut from the list from. I hope you're happy.
You'll never see another Christmas party again, my friend. I'm sorry.
This is very, very true. Okay, but to get back to Mr. Wardell, worth noting that something else he tweeted out, and this is about Thor 4, which is the Love and Thunder, which, again, is supposed to begin shooting fairly soon. As I was explaining to Aaron when I shared this with him as we were getting ready to record tonight, I know these words are in English, but I did not understand them. But let me read them aloud, and Aaron will now translate.
Okay.
A version of Thor Core will make its way into the upcoming Thor 4. Notable members of the team include Beta Ray Bill, Dargo Tor, Thunderstrike, Simon Walterston Throg, Groot, Gamora, Sif, Angela, and Storm. And Roger Novell character will appear in New Asgard. Okay, and now my English to Marvel dictionary, you're going to consult and explain this to me, right?
I'll get you about halfway there. There's a couple that are a mystery to me just because, I'm not familiar with all, 5,000 characters, but whatever. Here we go. Gamora, obvious. Groot, obvious. Sif, welcome back, Sista. We missed you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Angela and Storm. I want to put Angela on a shelf and get back to her in a second. Storm. Of the X-Men, Storm?
Yeah.
Is that her introduction? I mean, welcome to the club, and what a way to welcome an X-Man, because Storm was rumored to be a goddess, the goddess of thunder, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't just like an African earthbound character. She was rumored to be a goddess. So she could be from the stars, from the Eternals, from anywhere in that universe. So having her show up in Thor Love and Thunder, that would be cool. Getting back to Angela on the shelf, I don't know who she is. So we'll leave her on the shelf. Do you know her?
I know an Angela, but not the Angela?
Dargo Couture, not familiar with. Thunderstrike, not familiar with. Simon Walterson. That I would not know Simon Walterson, except it has Throg next to his name. And we've discussed Throg before. That is...
Yes.
Thorfrog.
Thorfrog. Wow.
I can't wait to see what happens with that. That'll be just as fun as, when we were all like, how on earth are you going to do a talking raccoon? That's just impossible. And then it happened, and we all went, oh, that's just great. Right?
Wow.
So I can't wait.
Speaking of which, and which now brings us to Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah. And Beta Ray Bill, we've already seen within the MCU. Yeah, in Thor Ragnarok, Beta Ray Bill's head was a sculpture as one of the champions on their planet from the Grand Master. I can't remember what the name of the planet was, that all the trash was being dumped out of Satan's butthole. And the way to recognize Beta Ray Bill is he's kind of got a long, almost like horse-shaped face. It's not an insult if you see him drawn, you'd be like, that's a horse head on a human. And then he's also usually wears a helmet similar to Thor with wings on the side, the oldest version of Beta Ray Bill, the classic version. So yeah, if you look in the backgrounds of one of the buildings, there's a long-faced helmet-wearing creature. That's Beta Ray Bill. So we'll actually get to see him, which will be awesome. And then to wrap it up, Roger Norwell, I thought sounded like a character from Hitchhiker's Guide that should be carrying a towel and drinking something almost and certainly not entirely like tea.
Again, it's probably a lesser Arthur Dent, but that.
But he could be someone totally cool, and I just don't know. I'm just going by the name. I have no idea who the character is. So I'm just going by a few we know, a few are new names, and a few. Storm is the most unexpected for me, and I can't wait for that.
And Roger has quite the batting average, so to speak, when all of the info that he's previously shared. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see, how many of these characters show up in Thor: Love and Thunder, and
in what context? Because honestly, if you think about the fact that Beta Ray Bill has already shown up via a sculpted head on a building, who knows in what forms these characters could actually take form in? Because appearing in a movie could be loosely translated into, God, I want to say there was at one point during one of the first Avengers where they mentioned something underwater that could have been Namor, a Namor reference, and we still haven't gotten to it yet. So they could be fully cast characters. They could be name drops.
And remember, just I think on our last episode, that in fact I think it was Roger who sort of inferred that the Hulk rights as well as the Namor rights seem to have gone back to Marvel. I don't know. Here's
the thing with Hulk. I got to say before we wrap this up, I don't even know what kind of story you can tell with Hulk right now, because most of his character issue that we're familiar with is the raging demon monster versus the man who's afraid to turn into the raging monster. And now that has been settled within the MCU, what is the next version of the Hulk? Just an intelligent strongman? What's the conflict? What's his arc? What's his story? What's his evolution? Because, Hulk has to change and grow and evolve to be worthy of following. Otherwise, he's just smart strongman.
Well, this is where Mrs. Feige comes in. And until she posts more stuff under Roger Wardell, we're just not going to know. But we'll tell you what, folks, if any of you have info you could share about Dargo Couture, or for that matter, Roger Norvell, if you could reach out via Twitter or such, we'd really appreciate it. Speaking of which, again, I guess I should mention, social media-wise, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Jim Hill Media, and over on Facebook at Jim Hill Media News. And I guess this is the part of the show we do the plugs. Okay, so if you enjoyed what you listened to tonight, and if not, I'm sorry. I mean, seriously, that's the story I heard about the Spider-Man film rights. And not to say that Aaron isn't right. It sounds a little fishy to me as well. But anyway, if you've enjoyed what you heard here tonight, I also do the Disney Dish podcast with Len Testa. We talked a lot about Drew Taylor today. Drew and I do the Fine Tuning, which is animation news. We also do Looking at Lucasfilm with Dan Z. And we also have the Universal Joint with Dustin Fuse. Going to be recording a brand new one of those later this week. Likewise, and I Want That, Disney merch. Michelle Valladolid and I are going to do a show later this week. In fact, we're going to be talking about the Silver Runner Vineyard, the Disney family-owned winery up in the wine country. If you get over to Bandcamp and subscribe, that would be great as well. I guess this is the part where I apologize in advance, because I'm pretty sure on the next show we're going to talk about COVID-19 again.
We'll also have all of the new release dates that got changed from this week to the next series. And
I think what we're missing here, Aaron, it's not a wheel. We need to make a bingo card.
Oh,
and just issue those to our marvelous Disney listeners, and the first one to get bingo, we'll treat them to the opening night of
bingo cards are so small when you're talking about a full year's worth of possible dates. I think we got to release a calendar.
Okay.
So we'll do like the fireman calendars. It'll be you and me. And we don't have dad bods. We're father figures.
There we go. Okay. On that note, folks, we'll be back soon with a new show. Thanks for listening.